Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live from My Drum Room. My guest today is legendary drummer and founding member of Bad Company and two-time returning champion, Simon Kirke. Simon was a guest on episode 56 on October 25th, 2021, paying tribute to the late, great Charlie Watts. In fact, I met Simon through Charlie backstage at a Rolling Stones show in New Jersey in 2012. And Simon was back for his own show, episode 60, on November 22nd of 2021. So be sure to check out those episodes in the archives. And I'm thrilled to have Simon here with me today on the heels of Bad Company being nominated 2025 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and because his drumming is the blueprint for so many rock drummers, myself included. So I'm just so thrilled to welcome back to Live from My Drum Room, the legendary Simon Kirke.
We made it.
We made it. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
And you.
You know, I when I saw you pop in, I was about to tell the audience that's watching this live right now, many folks, that you had this great idea during the sound check of making this a two-part episode, and I think that's perfect because,
Right.
yeah, and I'll just quickly say without wasting too much time, I was struggling with how to play there's so many great songs. That's the problem with having you on the show is there's too many great songs to not play certain ones. So we'll play a few today, and then when you come back, we'll do more, and maybe we'll focus mainly on the sort of first record today because I think that's worthy of its own episode, really. So
Well, I got some great stories about how that all came about. So
Great.
far away. I'm all ears.
All right. Thank you. And thank you again for being here. Before we even get started, I have to read you a message from our friend Stan Lynch, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers drummer, who is, I used to think I was your biggest fan, but I think Stan takes the cake. He just asked me to read this to you. Yeah. He said, "Please let Simon know how elated everyone is to finally see Bad Company nominated. I've been writing both Free and Bad Company on my ballot since 2003. Simon Kirke's drumming touched a nerve in me from the second I heard the Free live album. Once I saw Free play live, that was it for me. Nobody makes a song feel like Simon. He's an architect. He holds the patent on cool." So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Stan. That's I'm getting quite emotional from that. You know, Keith Richards said a great thing years ago. He said, "We're just passing it on."
Yeah.
Our generation, he's a generation before me. I learned a lot from Charlie. I learned a lot from Ringo, and I guess Stan learned from me. Other drummers learned from me. I learned from other drummers. We're just passing the baton, but that doesn't detract from what Stan just said. I am deeply grateful and honored that he would feel that way. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, my pleasure, Simon. And I know I speak for many people. Well, let's dive in and talk about how exciting it is right now for you. I mean, we won't talk about how long it's taken for us to get to this point, but you've been nominated, and I cast my ballot the other day. I'm excited to say, yeah, absolutely. And so let's jump into the first record. I mean, you have such a great history before that with Free, and we know about that, and we talked about that in the last show. But this record came out in 1974, completely blew the doors off rock and roll here in the States. I was 14 when it came out, and it was the blueprint for me. And I speak for, I think, every musician sort of in my generation, how much this record from start to finish meant. And I think the story from what I've read and what I'm going to have you talk about, you guys recorded this record so fast, right? I mean, it was just done kind of in a week.
Yeah. Mixed, performed and mixed in a week, maybe 8 days.
God. Unbelievable. And please, tell me to shut up and continue to talk here. But you guys had written all the material. Obviously, you'd written it all. Had you been playing it live? Had you been out?
Now you just put your finger on it. So the history was when we were we'd formed the band, Paul Rogers, myself, and Mick Ralphs. Mick was from Mott the Hoople, as you know. Paul and me were from Free, and we had sort of Mick Ralphs had written "Can't Get Enough" and "Moving On," and Ian Hunter from Mott didn't want to do "Can't Get Enough," and Mick was obviously in Mott at the time, and Paul was in this band called Peace, and they were opening because Free had broken up. Paul had this band, and Peace were opening for Mott the Hoople on a nationwide tour in England. And after the shows, or before the shows, I'm not quite sure which, Paul and Mick would get together and jam, a couple of guitars and sing. And Mick had this reel to reel, those things that go
yeah, I remember.
And he had this little tape recorder, and he played this song, and it was the demo of "Can't Get Enough." And Paul started singing along to it. And Mick said, "Fuck me." He nearly fell off the chair because Paul said, "This is a hit." And he said, "Can't get enough of your love." And it just elevated this demo to, oh man, we're onto something. So anyway, long story short, Paul had some songs, Mick had these songs. Paul wrote Rock Steady. In the 3 or 4 months that we were a trio, we didn't have a bass player. We auditioned. We had 16 bass players in the list, and not one of them worked, except the last one, which was Boz. So by the time Boz came into the fold, we had these 9 or 10 songs that were seamless. We could just, So, but Boz was a very quick picker-upper. I mean, he picked up these songs. I mean, they weren't rocket science. They were straight ahead, blues rock. They were such good songs. So when we finally hooked up with Peter Grant and Led Zeppelin to be on Swan Song, we were just sort of drumming our fingers, waiting for a record studio, to get in and get ready to go into recording. So out of the blue, Peter Grant called Paul Rogers and said, Led Zeppelin, John Paul Jones got the flu. And this place called Headley Grange is empty for about a week or 10 days. You want to go? And Paul said, yeah. So we were like 4 guys, like greyhounds let out of the trap. And we all convened in Headley Grange and walked in and saw Bonzo's kit, the plexiglass with the runes on the first landing of the first story of the landing. Walked in, see all Led Zeppelin's amps, flight cases. We go, wow. And we were off and running. And the very first song we did was "Can't Get Enough." And it just happened so quickly. And I believe at the very end, we were one song shy. And Paul said, "I got a song, but it's not required for you bastards to play on it." It's an acoustic song. He did it all. He played tambourine, he did the guitar, and he sang, obviously. And that was Seagull.
Yeah.
Became one of the most popular Bad Company songs in concert. So there it was. We had the first album mixed and done, and Peter Grant was rubbing his hands. By the way, it cost $18,000 to make, which was not a lot of money even back then.
No, I know. Oh my God, yeah. And was it just that it was almost like I have to think part of it was the fact that you had so little time to work with that it almost forced you guys to not really like fuck around, basically. You just went in and really got down to business.
Well, also underlying everything was this feeling of, yes, we were released from our 3 bands that have been, quite honestly, a bit of a real hard work. Free in the final days was, very hard to work with. Mick wanted to leave Mott the Hoople, and Boz was sacked from. So when we all got together, it was like, wow, man! It was like a new lease of life, and we must have played those songs dozens and dozens of times before we finally put them to tape, through various rehearsals and auditions and whatever. Paul had the great idea of singing the vocals to Bad Company on the lawn late at night. You gave it a sort of eerie quality, but it was just a perfect day, a perfect week rather. And then we had the first tour behind that, because look, you've got you got Led Zeppelin, biggest band in the world, releasing on their new record label through Atlantic. You got the biggest and most powerful manager in the world, and some would say ever.
Yeah.
Maybe Brian Epstein aside. And you had 3 or 4 musicians coming from 3 well-liked bands in England, not so much in America, but it was just the perfect meeting of all these elements, and we were off and running.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you recorded that first record, was it kind of like you were able to do like 2, maybe 3 full tracks a day kind of thing? Did it go that quickly?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Not a lot of takes probably then.
Well, the first track was Can't Get Enough, and you hear me banging on the side of the snare, to bring everyone in, because we were all sequestered all over different rooms in the manor house. That's why there was no spillage, no leakage. So I was in the drums were in the basement, one of the basements. Boz Burrell was in one of the boiler rooms with his bass, fighting cobwebs and maybe the odd rat or 2. And Paul and Mick were up in the main room where all the guitars and amps were. So you had this wonderful separation, and you hear me going 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go, and in we come. So sonically, it was a very clean and clear album. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said, Simon. I that sticks out so much in my mind when first hearing that record in 1974. The separation, as great as records were sounding in those days, the Zeppelin records you mentioned, and some of the Stones had really kind of got to a point where they were really making some great sounding records. But that record stood out. As you say, the isolation. I remember hearing the drums and the headphones. I mean, you do that first fill and Can't Get Enough, and you hear the panning of the toms, as you come around. It was so distinctive and to me unique for a lot of bands at that time, And
well, it's funny you shouldn't. I mean, Can't Get Enough for me as a drummer. It went through a couple of metamorphoses, and you mentioned Ainsley, Ainsley Barr, who was a big influence on me. And it goes from the quarter notes on the hi-hat and the outro, which I believe is about probably 64 bars. I'm doing a shuffle, a ride.
Yes.
And it's a kind of a tip of the hat to Ainsley, because he did that. And I saw him in the Marquee Club in London many times, and he was just jaw-droppingly good.
Yeah.
So, it's great that you mentioned Ainsley, because that was a tip of the hat to Ainsley.
Oh, that's great. Well, and I'll mention that when I see him next week, when he's on, I'll tell him that. That's great. And so I think we talked about this last time, but I just want to sort of revisit the drum kit you were using for that record. Was it the Heyman kit still, or was it a Ludwig at that point?
Now, you mentioned my little favorite teddy bear of a kit, the Heyman. We'll come back to that later. Yeah. No, dear Bonzo. Trying to dissuade Bonzo from anything is like trying to stop the wind. He said to me, "Those fucking drums are yours." I forget what I was playing. I think it was a Ludwig classic kit. He said, "They're too small." So what are you talking about? 22 by 14. He said, "That's nothing." 26 by 16. That's what he used, and he had 14 by 14 hanging tom and a 16 by 16. Huge. And he called up Ludwig in Chicago and said, "I want the same kit that I'm playing sent over to my mate Simon." And being Bonzo, I think the drums were there in about 10 days.
Wow.
So we had to take off the front skin, because that 26 by 16, I mean, I've seen smaller apartments.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like booming and
yeah.
So we but honestly, I never forget another thing Keith Richards said. He said, "You give me an amp, any amp, give me a guitar, any guitar, and in 60 seconds it will sound like me.
Hmm.
I never forgot that. And Bonzo, although he only played four drums with the timpani to one side, that's all he ever played his whole life. He could have played, a shitty, I don't know. I mean, there aren't any shitty drums anymore. They're all good. But any kit would have sounded like John within 30 seconds.
Right,
So
right.
when we got these drums and they were big and the engineers going, Jesus Christ. So we filled the bass drum with a good amount of padding, not too much. I didn't want to emasculate it. And we put gel, on the snare and the toms. And it was great. I mean,
Yeah.
I tuned my snare pretty high, like Ringo, and I was off and running. I loved it. I still got it in the basement, by the way. The
You
original
do, yeah.
Bad Company kit. Yeah.
Oh man. And the snare is the deep Ludwig Superphonic, the
No,
6.5.
the Ludwig Black Beauty.
Oh, it's a Black Beauty. Yeah, yeah. I think you did tell me that. Yeah.
Engraved brass. And yeah, I've been on every Bad Company track ever.
Well, and then that's the 5. That's the shallower one.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
I think 5.5.
Yeah.
14,
Yeah.
5.5. Yeah.
And that's on all. I mean, what a sound! And talking about the drums too. It's interesting you say that you muffled the bass drum some because it doesn't. To your point, it has plenty of life to it. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like a lot of the sort of West Coast American sounding drums from that time. I mean, it has elements of that bonzo liveliness to it. It certainly has a nice boom to it.
So that's a good point. I kind of not blame it, but Ringo went through a period where everything was tamped down.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
a lot of the reggae drummers back in the late 60s, early 70s had these tea towels, and it's totally emasculated the kit from my point of view. So when I got these drums, yes, they were a lot bigger than I was used to, but if you can get the right amount of padding and take away, and the flying bats, with the flying bats with duct tape, which
Oh yeah,
Steve invented
yeah,
apparently. They look like those sort of Greek letters, and they take a lovely amount of overtones out. So it was a question of getting the right feel on the skin, and that's where the bass drum came in, because I did experiment with. I didn't want it too flabby because it was a big drum anyway, and I
yeah.
didn't want it too tight because then the beater would snap back into my shin. And I had a
Right.
Ludwig Speed King pedal, so I played around for about half an hour with different tensions, and we came across what I think was the perfect response slash, sonically compatible.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I used the same tensions pretty much throughout my career.
And the cymbals I know were Peisty, and
Yeah.
were they by that time the 2002s, or were some giant beats or
No, that was
602s?
before 2002s, John.
Yeah.
I can't really remember. I know the 2002s came out maybe a couple of years later. I can't really remember, but John once again said, "You got to have pacey cymbals." And he arranged he arranged for a whole array of cymbals to come from Switzerland. And he said,
Yeah.
he said, in order to get these for nothing, you've got to go around the factory when you're in Basel. And he said, promise me you'll go. I said, all right, I'll go. I don't know if you've ever been to a cymbal factory, John, but it is
Yes.
the noisy. All right.
Yeah.
And as you leave the pasty factory and office, there's the biggest gong. The biggest gong you've ever seen. It's like that on the beginning of those movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
guy, that strong man. It's like the size of that. And you have to traditionally bang it before you leave. I said, okay. And I did it, And they said, well, at least you're not John Bonham, because he nearly took it off the hooks.
Oh man.
Everyone was like, like
Yeah.
a cartoon ball. I mean, that was
The
dope.
walls shook. Oh man. Well, let's play that first song we were just talking about. Can't Get Enough, and with you counting it in, which I love. And maybe we'll just take a second when it's done and we'll just revisit it for a minute and talk about what you played on it. All right. So here comes Can't Get Enough. Track 1, side 1, Bad Company record.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
It's as though you knew when that song was going to end.
Oh,
somehow.
yeah. I've heard it a few times now.
Lots of great questions, lots of great comments from the folks watching at home. And one of the questions that just came across, which was, I was going to ask you if you recollect how the drums were mic'd, how they were recorded.
No, I'm not the most technical person in the world, but I'll give you a little insight. In that a couple of years after we made this, I was with Jimmy Page, and he was mixing a Zeppelin album at his studio in Cookham Dean, just outside London. And I forget which album it was, maybe Zepp 4, but he was doing Bonzo's drums,
Mm.
and they were isolated. And I'm like, wow, God, to hear John's isolated drums, which you can hear now on YouTube, many
Mhm.
things. And he had these big Neumann, what's the word, ambient mics
Yeah,
on
room
the
mics. Yeah.
side, right? And John would be, we listening to John's playing, and then Jimmy would bring down the ambient mics to, an amazing drum sound. But you started, and he would then bring up the ambient mics to infinity, and you got that wonderful crunchy sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I don't really know because I wasn't really into the technical side of recording, but I'm pretty sure it was an AKG mic on the bass. SM57s everywhere because they're the
Mhm.
workhorses of the microphone world. And I'm pretty sure we had a couple of maybe one ambient mic, the Neumann 80 something like
Mhm.
that. But yeah, that's as much as I can tell you.
Yeah. But obviously getting a lot of good room sound was,
Yeah.
you can hear that in the drums. They sound
Well,
very
also, it was
organic
a
and
stone room. It was a basement,
yeah. Wow.
so there was very little padding per se. Oh, by the way, you hear Paul going, this one,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we were all over the different parts of the house. You're saying, come on, for Christ's sake, this is the end.
So the vocal track, did he sing a live vocal track to that, or was that just a scratch track? That was a
No, he
live.
did. He did. He always did, to help the musicians and thread where verses began and so on and so forth. He would always do a vocal with us
Yeah.
and then go out and do the real thing when
Right.
all the layers had been done.
Yeah. So that's yeah. I know. Another thing about that record is stuff like that. You counting the song in, just I mean, it sounds just so like
Actually,
natural.
you just made a very good point. I've never thought of this. Maybe that was his scratch vocal, or scratch, his
Yeah.
vocal. And usually the first take or two are the best. So
Right. Right.
maybe that was the one where, this is, hey guys, let's finish this because it's 5 minutes already. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
never thought of that before, John. Yeah, great.
Well, man, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he's
No, me
just
neither.
such a phenomenal singer, and
Yeah.
uh,
Oh my
and
God.
and I mean, like you said too, it's usually the first or second take. It seems like that's that take that we just heard, that version that we all know. It's just the energy, everything is all there. I mean, it's just got the
Yeah.
whole package
Yeah.
complete.
I
Just
think that was maybe quite possibly the first take, maybe the second. We would always do two just to see something to compare it with. Maybe three, but never more than three takes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's maybe play a couple of more songs as we kind of make our way through the first record, and the next song, "Rock Steady."
Oh,
I mean, the thing about this record, I've told you this before, Simon. It's just, every song it's just one of those records that you call you refer to it as a desert island classic. If you got stuck on a desert island, this would absolutely be one of those records you'd want to have with you, because everything is a gem from start to finish.
well, Rocksteady, Paul was a very good bass player. And in his early bands, he played bass.
Ah,
And he would always pick up a bass. He was also a very, very good guitar player, but that's another story for another time.
mm,
But he was noodling around on, I believe, Boz's bass, and he had this boom, 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 right up to the neck, the top of the neck, and back down again. And he said, "Oh, I got this idea. I'm going, wow." And I originally played it with eights on the hi-hat. Din, 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 din. And Boz, dear old Boz Burrell, who was maybe from the more jazzier side of music, he said, no, 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 play quarter notes like a metronome,
yeah, yeah.
kind of hard to halve my right hand from eights
Hmm.
to fours. but it actually worked really well with the bass, and that's what we want in rock and roll, of course. And then Boz went on and put some amazing percussion on top of that. But getting back to the actual song, it was from the get-go, it was one of those songs that went, wow, where did that come from? Because he'd never really aired it before. You know, maybe he was bringing it out when he thought it was a good time. But it was pretty much from the beginning, it was a pleasure to play. We used to do it right up until the end, you know. It survived in the set list for 45 years.
I would have to think so. And I think you're being very humble because you're not even talking about what you played on it, which I think is a masterclass in just feel. You know, I mean, it's one of these songs that somebody might listen to it and think, oh, it's pretty simple. He's just doing quarter notes or whatever. But the feel that you get in that song, Simon, I know I played along to these records for years, and I just went, forget it. I'll never. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. The thing about, and I did this in All Right Now. And originally it was in 8/8, and it was hard. By doing quarter notes, it makes it breathe a lot better. Eco with Bon Jovi, a very good drummer. Yeah. Most of what he played in the 2 and 4 was quarter notes on the cymbal and on the hi-hat. I never forgot that. It's not as physically demanding as doing 8s. 8s can get a little constricting, depending on the song.
Yeah, yeah.
Charlie telling me, Charlie Watts, Keith came up with this song, Shattered. Shattered. He said, fucking hell, Simon. You know, so he came up with this, and he'd bring his right hand off the hi-hat when the snare came. And you can, if you do that, you can play a song so fast. He said, it's the only way I could get through it. So that's a little aside, but but that's how I approached Rocksteady, and I still love playing that song to this day. It's that good. Yeah,
it really is, and it all these songs hold up 50 years later, like so beautifully. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that, because I think by playing those quarter notes, the song breathes, and there's this air in between each beat, and it just sits. It sits so beautifully.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really does.
I'll be back.
Okay.
Get
Man,
Hmm.
great song. Had a question from Jim. Let's see. Jim Sambataro asked the question, or made the comment, Boz Burrell and Andy Frazier were both amazing bassists. How different were they to play with? Great
Ooh.
question. And Jim's a great bass player himself, I should
Uh-huh.
add.
I think the first answer that springs to mind, that Andy was more of a lead bassist. He played very much like Jack Bruce.
Okay.
That
Yep.
being said, I mean, most bass players, when you listen, will know that when you listen to All Right Now, Andy doesn't come in until the first chorus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he would lay out. But once he came in, you know, you listen to Mr. Big, the live version of Mr. Big. I mean, he does these, you know, he's very tasteful, but kind of a busy
Yeah.
player, very
Yep.
much like Jack Bruce. Boz, you know, Boz had only been playing bass a couple of years. I mean, and
Really?
he joined King Crimson, so go figure. And he played this scroll neck Ampeg, fretless.
Mm-hmm.
So his notes kind of glided. You know, he wasn't as staccato as Andy,
Mm-hmm.
um, and quite a bit more melodic than Andy. And yeah, that's a good question. Thank you
Thank
for
you. And
that.
that's a great answer. And, you know, I meant to just briefly comment while we were listening to Can't Get Enough toward the sort of outro of the end section where the instrumental, he's playing some great runs, you know, Boz. He's playing those, which I sort of didn't really listen to till later. Like when I first started listening to that song, I only really listened to you, you know, but as we get older, we broaden our horizons, so to speak. But he plays some beautiful things, and, you know, we could revisit that later, or I'd invite everybody to listen to it
Sure.
at home and listen to what Boz plays toward the end of the song. It's a, you know, beautiful part that he came up with for that. So
Yeah. He was
just
also
like,
a very good singer. He was a singer in a band called Boz and the Boz People. Back in the late 60s. They must have been up all night thinking of that name. But he was a very good singer. He loved jazz. So he had a different approach, you know, from me and Paul and Mick, who are much more blues and soul and rock oriented. And he came up with some great ideas, Boz. I'll give him that. He was a lot of
yeah,
fun to
yeah,
be around.
yeah. It was a magical time.
Hmm.
I'm gonna move on down the record a little bit more, and this might be the next track. Ready for Love? Is it the next track after Rocksteady?
Yeah, Ready for Love. I mean, let me give you so it's the only track to be recorded by Mott the Hoople and Bad Company. Ready for Love, beautiful song. I think one of the best songs that Mick Ralphs ever wrote, and it's just gorgeous. And when Paul took a hold of it, I mean, to this day, up until our last show, whenever he sang "Walking Down This Rocky," you know, there wouldn't be. I would get a moist couple of eyes, because he just sung the heart out of it, and it was just a beautiful song. I do it in my solo shows, and it never fails to get some kind of,
Hmm.
particularly women, a lovely response. It's a very soulful song,
Yeah.
and I'm very proud of my drumming on it, because it was, you know, it was like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm trying to think of it was double eight. It was 16s on the
Hmm.
hi-hat. And
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
it was, and in some parts, then it was eights again. So, but a lovely song. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because you know, I want to, I want to be careful with throwing my opinions out there, but I think it's if it's not your finest work, it's right up there with your finest work, and it's masterful, I think, Simon. And I've been, you know, listening to it over and over again lately. And as you say, the 16th notes, the press rolls that you play coming in, that it's, you know what it is. And Stan Lynch and I have talked about this, Greg Bissonette, so many of our drummer
Great.
friends, we talk about you, and it's your dynamics. It's the way you think so musically all the time. Like it's never about, can I be fancy here? Can I do this here? Can I make it be about me? It's about what's going to make this song sound great. And that's what makes you so special. And this song is a great example of all these little things that all add up to this perfect drum track. It really is.
Thank you,
man. Yeah, really. Just let's give it a listen. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, as they say, because I'm sure everybody listening has heard this song. But and as you say, Paul's vocal performance is outstanding. The whole band, it's just such a beautiful
and then
track.
Mick chose not to do a guitar solo on it. He just sat down at the Steinway and just noodled this beautiful A minor solo. It's very sparse notes. We were like, whoa. He said, that'll do.
Wow.
Because we were expecting him to do,
yeah, real kind of, yeah.
He just, yeah. So go ahead and play it.
Yeah, I'll play it. And I'll ask everybody watching and listening, pay close attention to Simon's ride cymbal work too, where you come over and play some beautiful bell cymbal, bell of the ride cymbal. And it all just serves the song so beautifully. So, yeah. All right, here we go. Ready for Love.
Walking down this rocky road, wondering where my life is leading, rolling on to the bitter end, finding out along the way what it takes to keep love living. You should know how it feels, my friend. I want you to stay. I want you today. I'm ready for love. Oh, baby, I'm ready for love. Ready for love. Oh, baby, I'm ready for love. Yeah. Oh, for your love. Now I'm on my feet again. Better things are bound to happen. All my dues surely must be paid. Many miles and many tears. Times were hard, but now they're changing. You should know that I'm not afraid. I want you to stay. I want you today. I'm ready for love. Oh,
that ride cymbal.
I'm ready for your love. Oh, baby.
Wow,
Man,
that's an amazing song.
it
Gee.
sure is. Bravo, bravo, Simon. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fan favorite amongst everybody watching here. So
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful press rolls throughout, and yeah,
I think
just
that was the thing about it, John, in that this sort of rhythmic landscape was changing every 16 bars, from, and then the rise and fall, the light and shade. It was just an amazing track, unlike any other track I think Bad Company ever did. And that's why I still love it to this day. Boz played some beautiful bass. Yeah, wonderful.
and great point. Thanks for mentioning Mick playing that beautiful piano part, because it's really needs to be emphasized how beautiful that was for perfect for that song. Yeah, really something. And and we won't get to it in this one when we come back for the second one. When you mentioned maybe that's the only Bad Company track that sort of had all those different elements, I would compare Silver, Blue, and Gold somewhat to it. And in terms of the composition of that track being just so perfect and spectacular, the way that you took it to all these different places throughout the song. But we'll save that for the next one.
Okay.
I thought maybe since it's getting near the end here, we'd close out this episode with Moving On. And
sure.
Just
I tell you what, I'll do you a deal. Moving On and Bad Company.
Okay.
Is that all right?
That's great.
Then I really have to go. Moving On. All right. So Moving On was for all guitarists out there, it was in open C. And open C renders the stress on the neck of mixed Stratocaster.
Mm-hmm.
It's such high pitching, but it's got its own sound, and Can't Get Enough was written in open C as well. So while Mick was demonstrating Can't Get Enough, boom, boom, yeah, all right. And when we finished it in the first rehearsal, he said, well, I've also got this other song, and it's 2 and 4, and it rocked along as much as Can't Get Enough.
Yeah.
Moving On, then we whoa, boom, 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 boom. It just, I imagined horns. I would love to hear the horn section on it or something, but it was just a great rock and roll song, and it kind of summed up where we were then. We were still traveling and getting on planes, and there was no TSA agents back in those days, so you could be 15 minutes later, you were sitting in your plane. Now it's more like 2 hours later, but never mind. Just a great rock and roll song. Yeah.
It really is. It really, and again, another, tip my hat to the track that you built. I mean, it's, you started with the two-hand hi-hat part, and and it's just all the different parts that you play throughout it. So yeah, great. Yeah, I'll take those. I'll take that suggestion of Moving On and Bad Company, and then we'll move on. So yeah, here it comes. Yeah.
Moving on from town.
Great flow coming up here. Had to get that in there at the end.
Yeah.
That little flam. What a great song. I played that and can't get enough in my first rock band 50 years ago. And it was a thrill playing those songs every night. They were so fun.
They were fun. That's the word. Listening back to it now after all these years, there are some songs that are fun to play and they stand the test of time. I mean, all right now, when I keep going back to that song, but we took that 26 times. I mean, with false starts and maybe a flub, start again. But it was such fun to play. We could have done Can't Get Enough and Moving On time after time after time. It's such fun.
Yeah.
But I believe that was the second take because there was a breakdown in one of the guitars, the first take.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So much energy and yeah, I mean, just again, dynamics and yeah. And, and I just want to say this before we go to the song Bad Company, which I've always loved the fact that the first record was called Bad Company by the band Bad Company with the song Bad Company. So there's it's classic, but everybody watching at home, again, I think people understand this, but these were the days where there were no click tracks in the studio. This is Simon Kirke playing live in the studio with perfect time, perfect feel, groove. Everybody, the whole band, obviously had great time. And
but I think just to jump in there for literally a minute, I don't know, a lot of your listeners or viewers right now might not know that I served an apprenticeship for 2 years playing to records in a discotheque.
I didn't know that.
I when I was only 14, from when I was 14 to 16, I would go out with this guy who had a couple of turntables and a stack of 45s, different genres, and play drums along to them. So obviously my timing had to be with the record. And one day it was like Can't Buy Me Love or Supremes, Baby Love, or, I Want to Hold Your Hand. And I'm playing along with my little 4-piece Gigster kit, trying to keep in time. So when it came to doing the real thing, I had a leg up. I had an advantage in that I had this built-in metronome, and it served me very well, I think.
Yeah, it absolutely did. That's great information. And I think that it just reaffirms, the importance of, how that can improve your time. Just playing like that, understanding the concept of playing in time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, well, we'll wrap it up here for part 1. And here's Bad Company.
Okay.
Company, always on the run. Destiny is a rising sun. Oh, I was born, 6 gun in my hand. Behind a gun, I make my final stand. Hey, it's why they call me bad company, and I can't deny. Bad company till the day I die. Till the day I die. Till the day I die. Rebel souls, deserters we are called. Chose a gun and threw away the sword. Now these towns, they all know our name. 6 gun sound is our claim to fame. I can hear them say, bad company, and I won't deny. Bad company till the day I die. Yeah, till the day I die. Bad company, I can't deny. Bad company till the day I die. I said, it's bad company. Oh yeah, yeah, bad company till the day I die. Whoa, yes. Said I'm young and I'm free. Oh, but I'm bad. That's the way I play. Dirty for dirty. Somebody come across. Yeah, we're bad company. The cold blood.
Yeah, man.
Brings back memories. My goodness.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for being here today, Simon, for this.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I didn't realize that we were going to go in depth to the songs, and it's great because I get to relive them all over again. The thing about that song is that it's an E flat minor, and most rock songs, blues songs are in G or A or C or E, but E flat minor on the piano is all the black notes.
Mm.
And as soon as he played this idea, me and Paul co-wrote it, and
Right.
there's a certain haunting quality to it, and bomb, 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 and it just grew from there, and it became this. It became our signature song. This moody sort of tumbleweed going across the horizon,
Yeah.
midnight, and I love it. It's such a unique sound, and Paul sang the shit out of it on the lawn at midnight.
Amazing. Yeah. And moody is the perfect way to describe it because it's consistent with the rest of the record, but it stands out as something very different, like you say. And it has this sort of almost eerie, feeling about it. It's a very special song. Yeah.
And Mick Rouse would never, most guitarists know that to play in E is a doddle. It's a lot easier than trying to play an E flat.
Yeah.
There's 11 frets up instead of 12. And he said, no, boy, no, in this lovely West Country accent. No, boy, I'll manage. Don't you worry. And he never fluffed a note ever in all the hundreds of times that we played that song. And dear old.
I'll just say this. I may be, correct me if I'm wrong, please. But I feel like Mick probably doesn't get enough recognition for his guitar playing. He's a fabulous songwriter, as one of the main writers for the band. But, I feel like we don't hear his name enough with all the guitar greats. He's such a great guitar player. Man.
I know. It's just the way human nature, there's the big triumvirate in drums with Baker, Bonham and Moon and Clapton, Page and Beck. And it's kind of locked in. Maybe the next generation will bring in Slash and Brian May and maybe Mick, But amongst the cognoscenti, the guitar cognoscenti, Mick is revered and he's loved, and Slash has cited him as being an influence, and Brian has always mentioned him. So Brian May. So it's out there. It's just not public domain. But Mick is one of the best guitarists I ever worked with, and one of the nicest guys. I miss him terribly.
Yeah. Well, Simon, you're up there with all the greats too. When you mentioned Bonham and Moon and Baker, I'd put you in that crowd as well. Absolutely. You are in there. Yeah. Well, we'll sign off for the moment. I want to again congratulate you for the nomination. Do we know when they're going to do the final balloting and all the?
I believe it's either April the 21st or April the 23rd. I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure you can look it up. Where they actually cast all the votes from the popular votes and the committee.
Yeah,
they're the ones that we have to look out for. So we'll see.
No, I got a good feeling. So fantastic. Big hand, everybody, for the legendary Simon Kirke.
Thank you.
We'll hang tight, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hey, everybody, John dechristopher here, and I want to thank you for watching and listening to Live from My Drum Room. I really appreciate your support, and I'm excited to tell you that I now have Live from My Drum Room hoodies. Yes, indeed, they're here. They're in stock. I have them in sizes medium to double XL. The medium through XL are $50, and that includes shipping in the U.S. The double XLs are $55, again, including shipping in the U.S. Orders in the U.S. only at this time. And I still do have Live from My Drum Room t-shirts, and they are $25, and they're available sizes small to double XL, $25, including shipping in the U.S. Here's the back of the hoodie. Check this out. So don't wait. Order your Live from My Drum Room t-shirt and hoodie now. Here's the Venmo information. Venmo is at John-dechristopher-2. Again, at John-dechristopher-2. That's the Venmo payment information. Please, very important, include your size and your mailing address when you place the order. I need that information, obviously, but please do include that. And if you have any questions, you can email me at livefrommydrumroom@gmail.com. Again, livefrommydrumroom@gmail.com. All right. So thanks again for your support. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. 100% of the proceeds from t-shirts, hoodies, all go toward my PAS scholarship that I created in 2024, the Percussive Arts Society, a scholarship that allows a student to attend PASIC every year. And as I say, 100% of the proceeds for the shirts, the hoodies, everything go toward that. I promise you, I'm not making a penny on this, as it should be. It's a really great cause. All kidding aside, you're supporting a really great cause by doing this. So I thank you to everyone who's already bought a shirt, and those of you who bought a hoodie immediately, thank you very much. And we'll continue. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Remember, no drummers harmed on any show, and drummers, when in doubt, leave it out. See you soon.